Hello, welcome to the North Bank Podcast, where I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Hi, guys.
Evening.
Hello again.
So this is a kind of a podcast special for us when I look back on the season and rate the season as we see it or have seen it through various categories and so on. But first, we are the champions of Europe.
Whee!
It's funny. I watched the last 20 minutes of the game. I couldn't get onto it any earlier than that. And I was far more involved in it than I anticipated I would be. Stina Blackstenius scored 75 minutes. A sumptuous through ball from Beth Mead, the two substitutes combining. And then what seemed like an interminable slow winding of the clock. And the final whistle went. And it was quite emotional, the post-final whistle scenes. And then again yesterday, we're recording this on... Is it Tuesday? It's half term. I'm lost. It's Tuesday. I think, was it 10? They capped it at 10,000 Arsenal fans for the presentation outside the Armoury or above the Armoury at the Emirates yesterday. And some cracking scenes there and some great sweary Irish interviews done. and I believe Chloe Kelly popped into the Tolly
yeah.
and danced the night away, which is, brings back memories of Adams and Parlour and that lot up the Holloway Road after games on a Saturday, which I never witnessed. I was just a little bit too far removed and young, obviously, for that. But anyway, so did you guys catch any of the game itself?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. It was a really interesting game because Barca were so quick and slick in their passing, but the focus and concentration from Arsenal's defence. Leah Williamson was absolutely brilliant. Oh, it was just great. So, yeah, really good.
And I think there was 4,000 or 5,000, 9,000 Arsenal fans travelled out to Lisbon, and there were 4,000 or 5,000 at the Emirates as well. And I think, as a club, we've done so much to push, elevate the women's game, and is pretty much every home game now at the Emirates. It's almost that way.
Yeah, almost.
And the average attendance will probably fit into the top half of the Premier League, incredibly. And so long may it continue. And what a fantastic run in Europe, though. Madrid,
come from
Lyon,
twice.
Barcelona, the remontada run, wasn't it? Or what do you call it? That's... I mean, I must admit, I hope the men are looking on and taking inspiration from that, if they need it. But that is, finish second in the league. It was almost lovely symmetry. Finish second in the league and win the Champions League. Not like that other lot from down the road. Can I ask you this question? What do the following things have in common? Karabag, Ferencvaros, Elfsborg, Hoffenheim, Alkmaar, Frankfurt and Bodo Glimt. They are both
characters in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they are both teams from which I cannot name one single player.
Wow.
And Tottenham's run to the Cup Winners' Cup final or Cup Winners' Cup, the Europa League final. I wouldn't swap. I'm still not swapping at all. You get Mickey Mouse tournament. But anyway, so well done to the women's team. That was just superb. And also then what's happened since we last spoke, we've had our final league game of the season, the Kieran Tierney testimonial. Steph, you were at the Dell, not the Dell, Southampton. How was it? I mean, we said goodbye to Jorginho and Kieran Tierney. He obviously started. I think that was the first game that in 148 appearances that neither Gabriel nor Saliba started.
Wow.
In the Premier League, that is, in the Premier League. Any other noticeable? I mentioned Zinchenko before we started recording. I wondered, did he get any special attention after the final whistle? Obviously, Sterling and Neto will be gone back to their clubs. Thank you for nothing. And Jorginho and Tierney confirmed to be leaving. Anything else that we might have missed?
There was a bit of singing for Zinchenko during the game, but nothing of note afterwards. It really was centred on Jorginho and Tierney. Actually, Aaron Ramsdale got a lot of love.
Good.
And he thumbs up to the crowd a couple of times. He's obviously well liked by us because, and a bit like the Tierney situation, it was those players and their attitude and their commitment that helped raise us to where we're hopefully sort of heading. All right, we had a keeper upgrade in Raya, and Tierney has just been beset by.
They got us to the Champions League.
They got us to the Champions League, exactly right. So we're all very appreciative of that, and again with their consummate professional attitude. I was wearing my Tierney T-shirt and was very. I love him. I just think his enthusiasm, and even he was very reluctant to sort of be in the spotlight, but gave the usual sort of gestures. But
you could see how much the goal meant to him.
Very much so
in his celebration.
And apparently, he said to Arteta, "I'll score," and he did. That's just magic. It's absolutely brilliant.
I mean, he turned up from left back, making a near post run, and he flicks it with his right foot past the keeper. Why has he not been playing up front for the last 3 months?
I've been saying this, but everyone thought I was mad. Look, he's just great, and I'm going to miss him terribly. But it is what it is.
And good luck to him, and it's nice for him. He's returning home, and that's great. And he's only like 26 or 27. He's still comparatively young, isn't he? So I just hope his hamstrings, remain intact.
That's it.
That would be it. Anything else? The atmosphere. I mean, the away support have been pretty lauded throughout the season, up and down the country and Europe-wide as well. I'm assuming the atmosphere was pretty jubilant down there last game.
It was good. It was positive vibes. That's the key thing. Everyone is fully aware that, there are things that we can do to improve things moving forward, but to, appreciate what has been done despite, various contexts. The players that were there have given their all, and we're really appreciative. It was interesting, you say obviously Saliba wasn't there, Gabriel wasn't there, and actually it did shine a light on some of those other squad players that have helped in their own way, whether it's in a big capacity or a small capacity. So the likes of Kivior, for example, starting and playing well. You just don't worry about him being at the back now. It's absolutely great. So it was all good vibes. That said, and I don't want to go to it too long, we had an absolute nightmare getting down there because minibus broke down, so we had to
again.
Yes, again, just like Brighton around Christmas time. So we had to double back, take my car. We hit every delay on the way. It was ridiculous, and we were finally bombing down the M3. Okay, as time sort of ticked on. And the guy I was with, Dave, who sorts our tickets out through our supporters club. Hello, Dave. He won't be watching because he doesn't really know what a podcast is. He looked at me and goes, "You got the tickets?" I went, "Oh, yeah. Yeah, good one. Yeah. He's like, "No, I think I've left them in the minibus." Oh, God. No. So then, obviously, we get down there and I have to go to the away box office, which is just a tin shed on the side of St Mary's.
And what time is it at this point?
It's about 20 to 4.
Right, okay, 4 o'clock kickoff. Yeah, okay.
Not great for your nerves, so there wasn't so much soaking up the atmosphere beforehand. It was just running to the bloody thing. However, all got sorted. They do their usual checks with the people at Arsenal. We get in there. On the way in, Arsenal stewards handing out free drink tokens as a gesture from the club. So that was nice.
Good.
Yeah.
And you made it for kick-off?
Oh, yeah. Just made it for kick-off, yeah, absolutely.
There was nothing happened in the first few minutes anyway, did it? So
not much happened.
No.
Odegaard scored. Oh. He shot from outside the box.
Yeah.
It's good, wasn't it?
I hope he carries that. I hope he carries that through to August.
I think, yes, we all know his form has been a bit awry. He's had an injury, layoff, and all those sorts of things. You look at the last few games, especially. There's assists in there. There's goals in there. He's still a press machine from the front. So hopefully that's got him into a good spell. He can go away, have a break, do what he needs to do for pre-season, and then come back next year. Because I love him.
Same could be said for Martinelli. Last 6-7 games of the season, he's been a lot better.
Yeah.
And again, they've had injuries, and we talked about last week. We referenced that study done on minutes played, but it's not the number of minutes played; it's the intensity of the minutes played and the number of sprints and so on. And if Ødegaard, he picked up that injury for Norway, we don't know. He hasn't been carrying that for a number of months since, but then that comes down to Arteta and playing him constantly. A couple of options there. He could have played in his place for 1 or 2 games, but anyway, we won't get into that. Okay, so that was good. Nice way to sign off the season. We won our last 3 games. No, we didn't. We drew at Anfield, then we won. We beat Newcastle and Southampton. Second spot was kind of confirmed after the Newcastle result. We won't talk about. There's plenty of other things that happened over the weekend in terms of Champions League qualification. But you know what? I can't be bothered. Let's keep it on Arsenal. We can talk about goals that should have stood and inexperienced referees as we go through this particular
a team that spent £1 billion celebrating fourth. All that.
Yeah. And I like there was. This is going to be my second of probably several references to Spurs. Someone sent me a photograph of White Hart Lane N17, like the street sign, and someone had painted on a TH after the 7, N17th. Excuse me, so I thought it was quite funny. Right, okay, season review time. As we tell our students to do in English, you start with a thesis statement. Start broad and then dig deep, then zoom in and get more specific. So just to start off, give me a season rating out of 10. Steph, whilst I die.
Is that everything? Premier League, Champions League, the lot?
Season rating out of 10.
7.
Without explanation. Yeah, okay, 7. Chris?
I'm at 7 as well.
I'm at 7 as well, isn't that funny?
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, is that all good? I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Well, good that we agree.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple of kind of more broad questions for you first of all, and obviously we kind of preferenced this earlier on. So first question is, what went well? What are the 3 positives from the season? List them 1, 2, 3, Steph. So in order of preference or value, if you like.
In preference, Champions League, young players, defence. There you go.
Champions League, young players, defence. Okay.
Good. They went well.
Okay. Chris?
I'll read them verbatim because there's kind of crossover, as I'm sure there will be throughout this, but emergence of MLS as a kind of surprise.
The American League? It's been there for years, mate.
But I think the fact that when everyone was looking at Nwaneri and thinking, well, this is his breakout season, out of almost nowhere, Lewis Skelly comes along and just smashes it out of the park. So for me, his rise was my number 1, but also to a nod to Nwaneri as well, because he played a hell of a lot of games and scored some pretty decent goals. I know he sort of plateaued a bit and wasn't played for the latter part of the season a lot, but I think he needs a bit of acknowledgement as well. And then the ability to maintain a Champions League run and hold on to second place with so many challenges, that would be my third.
My first was how defensively solid we were. We conceded 34 goals. That's 7 fewer than Liverpool this season.
But more than we conceded last season.
And Raya got the Golden Glove again.
Yeah.
And Chris, I'm going to reference this. Our season-long debate about whether it's our defence or our attack that's been the problem for not winning these games we've drawn. It's the attack because of that stat, but also because of the following stat that no Arsenal player reached double figures for the first time since 1923-24 season. I think we all know where the problems lie.
Sure. I think just a little pushback on that would be we've lost 21 points from winning positions.
Because we haven't scored a second goal.
Well, you don't have to score 2. Sometimes you just want to hold on to what you've got.
We've got the best defence.
Well, not as good as last season. I don't want to get too heavily into this.
When we finish second as well.
Is you can take a bit from column A and a bit from column B. There are times when we have conceded silly goals, unfortunately.
I think we can take a shed load from column A and very little from column
Okay.
B.
Okay. You're entitled to your opinion, Holly.
Right, so I said our defensive solidity. I said finishing second despite the wider issues, of which there were many, and then third I've put down our Champions League run was pretty special, and just ended like with that crushing familiarity of, again, Chris not being able to score. Our XG of over 5 against PSG, and we got 1 goal. Our XG against Newcastle, the 4 games we played them this season, over 9. We scored 1 goal. Like, it's mental. Anyway, on the flip side of the what went well, what's your kind of top 3 things that didn't go so well, Steph?
I've only got 2 because they're pretty big. Injuries and transfers, or a lack thereof.
Okay.
Too many injuries, not enough transfers.
Yeah, and one may have led to the other.
And the transfers also incorporates loans as well, which were abysmal. So
yeah, and the fact we did those 2 loans meant we couldn't do another Premier League loan in January.
Yeah, nonsense.
Like, the whole thing was just awfully managed. Because were both of those loans on transfer deadline day as well, weren't they?
Smack of panic.
Panic, absolutely. Chris, what about your 3?
Pretty similar. Lack of rotation I put in there and then which leads on, I suppose, to the injuries, and then decisions. I just put decisions. Obviously,
I'm holding back on that.
Well, I'm sure, like I said, there's so much crossover with all of these, but I think that goes down as a letdown for the season.
Okay, I've put rotation leading to injuries as well as my number 1, transfers as my number 2, and I put in-game management, which might be a little bit of your decisions, Chris. I just thought that some of, and I will mention this again at various points. For me, the third game of the season, Brighton at home.
Yeah.
1-0 up. Brighton were poor. We're down to 10 men after 49 minutes. Brighton score after 58 minutes. We then make a substitute as our first change on 59 minutes, and we don't bring on an attacker until 75, 70, whatever minutes it was. I can't remember now. And I just think we sat back, and I thought, we're winning. We don't need. I get it. I understood that at Man City rather. I am actually regressing. I've been to the Dale and Main Road so far. I'm not an away fan anymore. Clearly,
we used to play on Plumstead Common, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
But when you said decisions, that's actually a good point, because I was referring to referee decisions. But
right, okay.
But I think yours is as valid, really. You know, in terms of in-game decisions and when to sub and whatever. So yeah.
Okay, so that's the kind of broad take. I think we're singing from a very similar hymn sheet, really, which is not
too surprising.
Not too unexpected, really. Okay, so I've got a lot. Steph, I don't know if you want to. You put a lot out to us on our socials, asking for people to feedback their positives. I don't know if you want to share any of those now, or do you want to save those for the different categories as we go through?
Well, we can share those now because they are sort of lumped together as one. So yeah, we were slightly worried that this whole chat would be quite negative, so I put out the question on social media for 3 positives to take away. I know you were probably going to ask us about reasons to be cheerful, so it was kind of lumped in with that as well. So and there is quite a lot. So first one from Instagram is my pal Watsy. Hello Watsy. He says Jurian Timber's remarkable consistency and quality post ACL. Declan Rice becoming a true match winner. Mikel Arteta being able to turn anybody not named Raheem Sterling into a number 9 as well.
For Arsenal. He did it for City, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously we reference, I'm assuming, Marino and Trossard and everyone. Even Martin Elliott at Anfield, I suppose. He was number 9.
Tierney. Lest we forget.
Calafiori.
Oh.
Yeah, they've all had a spell. Also on Instagram, this is from Julian. That's all I've got. I don't know who what his surname is, so hello, Julian. He says Miles and Ethan, the Haylen breakthrough, the lowest goals conceded in the league, and our Champions League form. Curver Northbank, also on Instagram. Declan Rice has solved the issue of the left. I'm assuming football-wise, not politically, but number 2, Miles
No
Lewis Skelly.
solving that.
And number 3, Jurian Timber has a season under his belt and has proven he can be a world-class asset for this team. Yeah, a lot of love for Timber, actually, from everyone. Right, also, on Threads, our good friend Tabs from the Grove podcast has messaged us. First of all, when I posted that we were worried that the conversation would be negative, he said, that'll be Holly's fault. Okay.
I think that's
1.
a bit harsh, Tabs, mate.
Number 1, the rise of MLS. Number 2, everything about the Real Madrid games home and away. And 3, the fact we still finished second despite everything that went wrong, irrespective of whose fault.
I think you'll find I said that as well, Tabs, mate,
Yes,
just to draw that that comparison.
When forced by your own category of question to come up with what went well, yes. He says, and given the club know what needs to be done next season is going to be amazing. Brackets, it's the hope that kills you. He says he did give us a bonus 4th one, and that is 17th and 22 losses. So that
the most, and this is my 3rd reference to that lot. The most ever defeats in a season for a team without being relegated.
amazing.
I'm not stopping places with them.
Bigger picture, forget about it. Yeah, exactly. Right, I'm going to rattle through quite a few of them. On Blue Sky, PABS or PAB BSS, I don't know. MLS, Nwaneri, beating Real Madrid, home and away. James Brow, or James Brough, sorry if I've got that wrong. 1, battered Man City. Yeah, that's a good one. 2, didn't get battered by anyone. That's also a good one.
Yeah, that's true.
3, emergence of Miles Lewis Skelly. Also, Fuchsia Sky on Blue Sky. 1, Miles Lewis Skelly. 2, winning at the Bernabeu. 3, finishing second after Oda, Saka and Gabriel were gone for extended periods. And Havertz, you missed off that one as well. Who else we got? Paul Keegan 1 on Blue Sky. Great Champions League campaign, finally controlled both Man City matches, interesting, and record against top 6 teams better than last season. Very good point. Right, a few on TikTok. We've got 18 Andy 6. 1, Arteta's use of youth, MLS and Nwaneri. 2, the fact, under extremely difficult circumstances, having to deal with injuries and silly suspensions, he got Arsenal to second in the Premier League and to the semis of the Champions League. 3, difficult to think of a third. Yeah, I think a few people had that problem. But maybe going public about the board investing in players, most notably a striker and a winger. That could be good or seen as division in the club. Yeah, I've seen a few people sort of saying that. Right. Oh, my friend George. Hello, George. He had a great run going away in the Champions League. He went to the PSV and the Sporting games. I mean,
that's 12 goals.
The 12 goals conceded 2. Yeah, well done, George. Number 1, the emergence.
Can he go to every game next season?
Well, I worried when he said he wasn't coming to Madrid with us. I was like, oh no, but it turned out fine. It's okay. Because I went to the Bernabeu.
Did you go to the Bernabeu?
To anyone.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. He says, number 1, George. Hello, George. 1, the emergence of MLS and Nwaneri. It's a common one. 2, board and manager agree on now or never attitude equals signings incoming? ? And 3, the core leadership group of Gabby. He's put Gabby XL. I love that. Because Gabby
not the little one.
That's good, yeah. That's good. Very good, George. Rice, Oda, Saka, all committed to the project manager and the club. Oh, hope so. I'm a bit worried about reading this one out because it's from the King of the Trolls on
Did you check his profile?
No, it's fine. It's fine. He has messaged in and commented on a few of our videos. He's all right. Still progressing, even with all our injury suspension issues. Have to make the Champions League final next year and push all the way for the league. I mean, have to. It's a bit strong because, who knows? What else we got? Oh, I love this. You got to think about your online names, everyone. Raspberry Moon 8. Second, despite injuries and interesting ref decisions. Love that. Dennis, 1965-0. Rice, Lewis Skelly, Champions League semi, despite depleting starting lineup for large parts. Right, Matthew Savidis on Threads. 1, squad adaptability, specifically Marino, but shown across the board. the rise of MLS and Ranieri. 3, how the fans back the team even with a bad season. Just think to 5-6 years ago and how distant the fans were from the club and the players. Even a decent season, top 4 with FA Cup, for example, was met with hate. Now our bad seasons see us second in the league and a Champions League semi-final, while facing a series of setbacks, self-imposed and just unlucky, and the fans are fully on board. It's huge. Totally agree with that. You know, as someone who goes home and away as well, that is really important. Right, there. I see. I think they're sort of saying the same things, and then I see one that says something funny. So Joe Goldberg. First of all, Joe, I said 3. I wanted 3 reasons to be cheerful. He gave me 14. Joe Goldberg on TikTok. I'm reading your first 3.
Let's have some of that injected into our veins.
And that's it. Although I will say. He got Max Dowman shining in the youth team ahead of the Women's Champions League. I'll make of that what you will.
It might not be prioritised.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I know. I'll let him off.
In no particular order.
Did you see Max Dowman's goal for the under-17s?
Oh, my
Outrageous.
days.
Like, that is
I
ridiculous.
saw one take online that said, yeah, he gets in these positions and he's never really looking for a teammate, is he? I was like, I mean, you're just not enjoying football now anymore.
He actually got an assist. He got an assist in the same half.
that pass. That
Yeah.
Oh, my
splitting.
days. What a baller.
Again, a player playing 2 years above himself for the
You
England
can see why
team.
Arteta's keen to lock him in and get him in
Christ.
that team. Right, I'll read this one out from Joe Goldberg. Sorry you went to so much trouble, but you did write an essay. Real Madrid. Just Real Madrid making Mbappe look like McFrappe. I like that. Thank you very much. The rest of them say similar, but I did say I would read another one out that was a really good point. Hang on. Oh, here we go. So this is KGFF on Blue Sky. 3rd year in a row we've had a realistic chance of winning the title. Hashtag sustainable, like that. Because I worried that first season that this was going to be a flash in the pan. 2, set to finally sign an out-and-out striker this summer. Not a false 9 or second striker, etc. will make our attack potent. I feel like everyone's getting their hopes up. I've been here before. Season ticket renewals are this week. It could all die off. Best defensive record. Yep, good. So Sazzy Bay on Twitter agreed with me about Odegaard showing signs in the last 8 games, getting back to what we know. And this one, I wanted to save this one till last. So this is outside the aviary on Threads. They said, the fact that just a few years ago we would have killed for a top 2 league finish and 1 win away from a Champions League final, it's expected now. There you go. Love that.
In fact, next season it would be a disappointment.
Not to be, yeah. I agree.
That's that mental expectation management.
And at the time, it will feel devastating if it doesn't happen. But, you know, when we step back, a bit like at the moment, we can go, okay, yeah, the season has been weird. Second, Champions League semi-final, okay. It's still, you know.
I've got two questions that I've jotted down that I didn't send you guys beforehand. I'm going to leave them with you for a minute. First question is, and I like this one. If you could go back to one moment in the season and reset and start from that point, so which point in the season do you think it started to go wrong, or did it ever really get going? You know, what point? I mean, I know for me, I'd go back to the Brighton home game decision. I just think that I said it at the time.
It?
Well, it has it's because I referenced the Fulham game from the season before, the 2-2, and it felt like here we go again, and that was the 3rd game of the season. So that one. So I'll leave that. Like, what moment would you go back to where you think it might have? I mean, that's probably the earliest moment. So I've deliberately kind of voiced that one out loud. So you guys might pick one that's not quite as far back as that, and then I suppose they kind of did this season ever really get going?
No,
I mean,
I was just thinking that we never really went on a run, did we? As we did last season, where the back end of the season, and the season before that, where the beginning of the season was so strong.
Because something like just went wrong. Odegaard injury,
the
stupid red card for Rice. Like, I'm not blaming Rice. Like, that was just a stupid red card, and then Trossard red card, and you know, it's the Havertz injury and Saka injury, and
it's like a conflation of things.
Gabby XL injury, like that. Gabby
M
meet small S, surely
S/M.
Yeah, he was out as well for a period of time with another hamstring, but Anyway, so I'll leave that one with you in terms of going back to a moment where you think it started to go wrong. That if you could go back and reset and start again, what moment would that be, do you think? Okay, so our categories then. I've started positive because I'm, contrary to what Tabs thinks, I'm a very positive guy. Highlight of the season, Steph.
Highlight of the season. Well, yeah. I mean, for me, the Madrid trip, that was an all-timer for me. It has to be. And I do worry that this podcast will sort of fall into just talking about the Madrid games. But, you know, the trip to Madrid was absolutely great. If I had one complaint about it, the weather could have been a bit warmer. But it's fine. No, that stadium was inside. I still feel like outside. I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to be.
The game's played inside.
But it's inside. It's a cathedral. It's got that vibe about it where you just sort of look up to the heaven. Or actually, I looked down from the heavens, but it was unreal. And then to go and win was just incredible. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay, highlight season, the Madrid trip. I like that. Chris?
I've got Real Madrid ×2 and then City home for my highlights because of what it felt like at the time. I know, you know, it's that argument of, well, City, it's that sort of almost Pyrrhic victory thing. But for me, it was such a joyous game to be at for many reasons. So, yeah.
Okay, so I started laughing when I bigged myself up for being positive, and then I looked at what I've written down for highlight of the season. It was the final whistle at Southampton.
You are such an Eeyore.
I knew you two would go with the obvious ones, Madrid,
My
obviously.
days.
So I wrote down the final because was it not? Come on, was there no sense that like I'm glad it's over from you two?
Well, it wasn't the highlight of the season, no.
No.
But I appreciate your attempt at originality, Ollie.
That's what I've written. That's what I felt.
Look, there's always a moment. I talk about this a lot. There's always a moment when you know that essentially the season that is it. And the example I always use was, and it wasn't over by any means, but I can always sort of feel it. And that was when we were in the Europa League semi-final playing Atletico Madrid. Now we were at home. We were 1-0 up, but they were down to 10 men. But then Griezmann scores, I think, in the 86th, 87th minute. And I don't know why, I just lost something that day. I just deflated of air. Because the league was whatever it was at the time. I can't even remember what the status of that was. But I felt like, no, you can see, because it was away goals then as well. You concede that away goal to Atletico Madrid. You're not scoring 2 over there. They had that vibe about them. And so I just deflated. So this season, it was later because of the Champions League. The league, but the Champions League kept the fire burning for a little while at least.
Okay. Game of the season, Steph.
Right, so game implies a tussle between two really good teams. And so I think for the atmosphere and the context and everything, of course it's Madrid at home, I think, because I've never known the Emirates like that either. The more I think about it though, the more that first PSG game, because they were so good in the first part of the game that I was also really impressed with how we then established ourselves as well. To keep in the game and in the tie, so that was probably the two best teams I've seen play was Arsenal PSG, but that Madrid at home game was unreal. I mean, I've also made a note of City at home because from a fan experience, I mean it was relentless C-bombs at Haaland for 90 minutes. I've never witnessed anything like that. It was weird, and it was Man City, and it was 5-1, and I don't think I've ever had so much fun It was so good.
You
Not
couldn't
that
have
I was
scripted
swearing.
it better.
It was so
The whole
good. The
game.
whole thing, stay humble. It was
Yeah.
narrative driven. It was City. It was Pep. It was Haaland. It was so much fun. But yeah, I mean, Real Madrid was our best performance, I think, of the season. But the PSG, both teams were so good. PSG were amazing for a bit. Yeah,
Chris.
take your pick.
Real home, streets ahead of any other for what it meant and for what it gave us in terms of a fillip to go on in the Champions League, because we kind of knew that the league was pretty much done. So yeah, just the feeling of we're onto something.
Yeah, no surprise.
I thought you were going to say Brighton 1-1.
I wouldn't.
Most important game.
Game of the season. It's where we lost it. We lost the league in match 3. Obviously, I've written down the 2 Madrid games and the City game. Just like I figured you two would do that. So anyway, moment of the season. I mean, again, Steph, you've had. I mean, you've attended far more games than myself and Chris, certainly this season. So you've probably got quite a few more moments that you could kind of draw on. So what have you gone for?
So when I think of the crowd celebration and that moment of euphoria, there's only really 2 that stand out, because Man City was a kind of building thing as it went on and on and on. And that would be, my ultimate one really is the Martinelli winner, actually, at Madrid,
Okay.
which you might be surprised at. But there was something in the sense that we sort of knew we were going through, but
We were 4-1 up.
yes, I say sort of. Look, I'm scarred. It's what happens. We obviously knew we were going through, but the way it unfolded, because we were so high up, you could just see it. Marino pings that ball, and everyone has that. Oh, it's on there. He's gone for it, and it just, you're then able to sort of erupt. The more explosive moment of the season is Rice's second free kick, because I'm stood there in our seats, and there's a few people going, "Go on," and again, Deckers, and I'm there. No, he's not doing it again. Come on, just chill, and then he does it, and it's the surprise of the thing. We just erupted. It was incredible. But the Martinelli one, to be in that away end. It was, it just, again, it erupted. I can't use any other words.
I think brilliant. It speaks to the mentality as well. Like,
yeah.
Drawing at the Bernabeu. No, we want to win at the Bernabeu.
At the Bernabeu.
That's winner's mentality. Good. Chris?
Yeah, I'll reference the Rice goal later, but I just feel like MLS scoring against City just said so much about him arriving on the scene, and the whole, tied in with his celebration and the kind of crap that came after it. But for me, that was it was the cherry on the cake in that game. So, and as I felt at the time, I don't think I've felt such euphoria.
It's funnily enough, Chris, I've gone for his celebration as the moment of the season.
Well, there you go. So it's tied in.
Brilliant.
I just think it spoke so much about him.
Yes.
And he'll be, provided we provide him with a successful environment, a winning environment, he's there for 14 years.
Could be.
It's like he could be that, one club player that we used to have. We don't have anymore, really. But we could have a couple of them. We could have a few of them. Yeah, if we've got to provide them with a winning environment. That's the key to that. But I just thought,
go on.
The context for it, it's your first goal for your club. You're 18. No, was he? Yeah, he was still 18. He wasn't. Yeah, and that's your thought. Love it. Absolutely love it. Every single fan.
We'd had a preface for this before, because he got yellow carded away at City early on in the season, because he was given instructions, or he was stood on the wrong end of the pitch or something where he was. So he's happy to put himself out there, and then obviously got asked who he was by Haaland in that melee at the end of the game. But he also prefaced it in the Spurs game, because he shushed the away end when we took the lead. I think we beat them 2-0 at our place.
2-1 at home, yeah.
2-1 at home. And he shushed the away fans there, went off slowly as a sub and was geeing up the clock end. So, the signs were there early. So to then deliver, having scored against City, 5-1 rout, and do the Buddha celebration in front of what a guy. He's got several moments of the season. I love him.
It's just so unapologetic. I think that's the
scored on his debut for England. I mean, wow. He is great.
With the talent to back it up.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm going to, because you've said that, I'm going to jump a couple of categories and come back to them.
Okay.
I'm going to jump straight from talking about him to your player of the season. And I want you to kind of contextualise this with talking about the polls that you put out on social media. And then, well, first of all, tell me, Chris, just one player name. Who's your player of the season?
Oof. It's a very close between Rice and Raya for me.
Steph, just one player. Who's your player of the season for you?
Rice edges it just for the consistency over the whole of the season at the start. I mean, actually, I had Big Gabby as a close sort of second. I feel like he gave us the platform. Goals dotted around the season, Spurs, Man City away. And Raya as well was another one.
And his absence has cost us at both ends of the pitch.
Yeah, could argue that.
Yeah, different season had he stayed
Rice,
fit.
But Rice ultimately for me.
Yeah, Rice ultimately for me as well. So go on, sorry, Steph, but with the polls on socials.
Yeah, so put out a poll on all our social media asking people what or who their player of the season was. And they were all pretty even. Rice did come out the winner. So on Threads, he won 60%. Raya and Gabrielle equal with 18%. And then a few people said there were others. And that was true pretty much on Instagram, 65% Rice. Gabrielle 17%, Raya 14%, 4% went for others. Twitter was basically the same, 53%, Gabrielle 26%, Raya 21%. So everyone's fairly agreed. And I think it is probably because of the injuries to other players, and Rice was able to.
And he came on strong. He didn't have a brilliant start to the season, but he came on strong.
Right up to the end, winner against Newcastle. He's.
Yeah, someone you mentioned earlier. Someone said that he's become a match winner.
Yes. No, absolutely.
And that's what he's added to his game.
Yeah. Just to feedback, because there were a lot of other people who were saying that they had other choices, and it was quite surprising. So the common ones really were Timber. Who everyone said was basically Mr. Consistent. We've seen what he can do, and this is after a cruciate ligament injury, and also Miles Lewis-Skelly. Because of his emergence, and had done it for a lot of the season. So this is, I don't know what, JRAFREW, Jafru, on Threads. MLS, consistent, dynamic, calm, a leader. Matt Price, 953. MLS, considering it's his debut season, he's performed consistently at such a high level. Kaz Cad the Nerd says, can we have all three plus MLS and Marino? I forgot to say, there are a few shout-outs for Marino as well. Did you want to talk about Jazz Tahara, who follows us on Blue Sky? Yeah,
so Jazz Tahara put forward a very convincing case for Miles Lewis-Skelly. And when I read it, I thought, do you know what, he's got a point. And then I realised that I'd actually put Miles Lewis-Skelly down as kind of a lot of positives in these categories that we're going through. So he said, dropped in the deep end as an 18-year-old, allowed Arteta to keep our shape and tactics. First international cap, scored a goal within like 25 minutes of that cap. As you said, Steph, he's now, is he first choice England left back?
Basically. Mainly because of injuries, because of others, but yeah, why not?
Scored the goal against City. Utter shithousery throughout, which is brilliant, and handled the pressure of the PGMOL and some very suspect media coverage, which continues, just in his stride, like to the manor born. And I thought, do you know what? So thanks for that, Jazz. That's I would. I still think I'd give it to Rice, but only just. And Miles Lewis-Skelly, like, it's only because of his age, I think I discounted him. I mean, the fact that he hasn't been nominated for the Young Player of the Season in the Premier League is
nonsense.
Absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider Saliba has been nominated, and like it's just odd. I don't know who makes those decisions, but anyway, I don't care.
Can I do a few more listener ones?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, just even if it's a few explanations as well. So there's J.S. Burns on Blue Sky. It's Raya. He's single-handedly, good pun intended, don't know. Single-handedly won or saved more points for the club than anyone else in the squad. I mean, he probably would have finished about third. Bell's Gall on Blue Sky says, it's a Declan Rice, David Raya, Mikel Mourinho hybrid for me. And that got me thinking scientifically, Frankenstein-wise, what that would look like. But there we go. All three have stepped up and owned the responsibility of driving us on. Overall, I'd have to say Rice, but the other two are worthy contenders. Benjamin Rose just says during Timber. Eggshell Blonde on Blue Sky, who often comments and retweets things or reposts things on Blue Sky. So thanks for that. Who wants to give an honourable mention for Kivior too. Solid cover since Big Gabby got banjanxed. And I love the word banjanxed. That's a great word. To which Jazz Tahara, who we just mentioned, says, big shout, solid 7 out of 10 every game, never made us feel nervous. Absolutely right.
And the context for when he entered into the team as well.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because what started to build, I could see the thread was basically a lot of defensive players getting praise because the defence is really good, and also because we've got so many injuries in the attack. So this is North London is red on Blue Sky. I think there's a decent argument for each of these. Raya, Rice, Gabriel, Saliba, Saka, Timber. And stepping up fantastically and doing what was not expected, Kivior, Marino, MLS. You see, there's just been lots of very good performers without one outstanding thing, and I like that because it shows we've got a great team. Raya number one. This is Highbury Hill or Charlie on Blue Sky. Raya number one, consistent throughout the entire season. Big Gab, close second. Raya hit the highest levels of everyone, but I still feel like he started the season slowly. Fair enough. MLS and Kivior deserve special mentions. Hiatus on...
Have a break.
Yes, exactly. Hiatus on Blue Sky said, Rice is getting in based on those free kicks. Nice. Maybe a bit more.
No. Well, have a break, mate. I'm sticking with it now.
And then goes on to say, I would venture that Timber is the big miss from this list, as he almost certainly deserves it more than Declan. All right, I don't know what your problem with Rice is.
West Ham
big
fan.
shout for Gabby. Who was that? I don't know who that was. FPL Guna Jen says, it's Timber or Raya. Yes, Rice was fantastic at the end of the season, but I think he was pretty poor at the beginning of the season. Timber and Raya have been consistently good throughout the whole season, and we now know Timber was doing that playing with an injury. I mean,
yeah, true.
Yeah, none of that is wrong. It's all good. And then Bry5913 on Blue Sky says, it's 100% Timber. Would have been 50-50 with him and Gabriel if not for his injury. Rice third, MLS fourth. It's a long, long way back to whoever fifth is. I don't think anyone says anything overly different from that. Sorry if you've commented and we haven't read it out. We're really appreciative. That's the most feedback we've had for anything ever. So,
and those polls got like several hundreds of votes as well. So
yeah,
it's
really
probably a nice little temperature check of where the fan base is at. Okay, player of the season done. Okay, young player of the season, just because it's connected. Steph.
Miles Lewis-Skelly.
Okay.
Moving on.
Big shout out to Nwaneri as well. You know, he's played well over 1,000 minutes, featured a lot, scored a lot of goals, scored some important goals. And yeah, it'd be interesting just to see how he's used next year. I'm not sure the wing is his best position,
and where he's used. Yeah,
he can be cover for Odegaard. I know he doesn't press in the same way, but for some games, he's got to be an option.
We don't know that he can't press in the same way. He's not been given his legs there yet. Okay, I'm going back a few categories. Low light of the season. I'm bursting the bubble here now. The low light of the season. So it's like it just followed on from the moment of the season. So the highlight of the season, big moment of the season. What's the low light of the season or the low moment of the season for you, Steph?
Officiating. for a number of reasons. My stance on VAR still stands in the sense that when you're in the stadium, the dead time for any decision, whether it goes your way or not, kills it for me. And the hesitation with which you celebrate a goal, there's no replacing that. So I would always get rid. On top of that, and I'm going to try my hardest not to even reference any instances that feature Arsenal players. There have been some absolute howlers this season that VAR, as the safety net, is supposed to overcome, proving once again that it's just down to human error, therefore just leave it up to the guy on the pitch. So in the last few days, obviously we've had the end of the season, there was the incident at Old Trafford where the referee blew the whistle rather than letting the play carry on.
For a second, for like 3 seconds.
I know. Which goes against what linesmen are supposed to do. Obviously, if there's a break and there might be an offside, they're supposed to keep their flag down, let the play go on, which, again, you can't have it both ways. Happened, and then is it Ayoini? For Forest got injured doing that very thing. So there's something needs to be thought about with regards to that. But obviously, the Villa ref blew the whistle. A ref that has fluctuated between the Championship and the Premier League all season, okay, where they don't have VAR. So his muscle memory, you assume, is to, well, if there's an incident, I'll blow the whistle.
And the issue is all 10 games kicked off at the same time. So you were kind of having to dip down into the less experienced referees. But give him the Arsenal-Southampton game where there's nothing on it. Why not? I mean, I'm glad Aston Villa have kicked up a fuss. But
it's such a fundamental error that you think that the floor has to be higher for referees.
It's the quality of refereeing. That comes up in one of my answer in a later category as well.
The other one I was going to reference, again, not Arsenal, we all know those, we've spoken about them all season on this Arsenal podcast, was in the cup final. Now, don't get me wrong, I am absolutely delighted and over the moon that Palace won, but what Henderson did...
Denied his goal scorer.
Exactly. So, what's going on? It's just bizarre. The level of officiating is not good enough, and the whole VAR experience does spoil the atmosphere in the stadium.
Yeah, the spontaneity gone because you're constantly wondering what's this going to be chalked off for. Chris, low light of the season.
For me, I've put the cluster of injuries that derailed us and our failure to strengthen in January. We can argue about why the injuries happened, but the fact that they did and in such a cluster, and the club just gambled and got it horribly wrong. So
okay, my low light of the season,
Brighton.
Thank
one
you.
We'll get the T-shirt printed, Holly.
Following on. Funny you mentioned T-shirt. My mate Schlinger, who's a big Man United fan, this podcast has popped up on his TikTok and so on, the clips you send, and it seems that every time he listens to it, I'm bemoaning or complaining about United. He sent me a T-shirt simply in the post, unprompted. Sir Alex Ferguson ruined my childhood T-shirt. So speaking of T-shirts,
Nice.
So from low light of the season to most crushing moments of the season.
No. What was your low light?
No, I just said it. Brighton. It was.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's it all started to go Pete Tong from that point.
We're not doing goal of the season.
We are, yeah.
Okay.
That's further down.
Okay, you're just okay.
Am I sorry?
You're keeping us on our toes.
Am I distorting the order? Most crushing moment of the season, Steph. Havertz injury.
When the news broke that Havertz had got injured, because it was basically too late to do anything in the transfer market. It was the Jesus injury that should have prompted really us to move in some way or another, and so that was probably the first sign for me that not much was going to happen this season.
It was the most predictable injury, wasn't it?
Well, no, I'd say it wasn't, because they'd gone to Dubai for a jolly, and at the end of that experience...
Arteta referenced, didn't he, how fit Havertz was. I don't know how he does it. He's amazing. Look at the stats.
Break.
And then,
Snap does your head in. So that, I don't know, that for me, something, hit me there.
Okay. Chris, most crushing moment?
Losing second leg to PSG. Just the sort of gas came out of me. Not in a smelly
moment...
way. I deflated, put it that way.
Farty bum, as we'd say in this house.
And the non-smelly gas came out of me.
Any particular moment in that game, like the penalty concession, the penalty awards? I know he saved it, but that penalty award, or like conceding, getting away with that,
goal.
and
Saka
then just
missed.
conceding like 2 minutes. That moment, Saka missed the open goal, and that would have really put the cat amongst the pigeons with 10 minutes to go. 1 goal behind.
I think when it was over, I don't know. I think throughout the game there were those kind of peaks and troughs, but for me, once it was done, it was a kind of utter deflation of like, well, the season's done now.
Okay, I'm going further back in the season.
Brighton.
Can I guess?
No.
Can I guess?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, guess.
West Ham.
No, I'm not. I'm going back to
I've got that, though.
City's
Oh,
equaliser. The timing of it. I just thought that was
cruel.
Yeah, absolutely, because we'd done so well, down to 10 men. Well, first of all, 1-0 down, and then turn that around 2-1. I will never forgive Trossard for doing that. I still think it's a poor refereeing decision. I get that, but knowing what had happened with Rice, and he booted he didn't just tap it away, he leathered it, and a second yellow card, already on a yellow card. There was certain culpability with Trossard there. However, the team dug in and did so well and would have thoroughly deserved that. But to John Stones to score that bloody goal so late, that was for me the most crushing moment. It's the moment, the PSG moment, the game I get, but I was kind of half expecting it. Like, we just were never quite there with the PSG game. Always like chasing it a little bit. They teased us a little bit, but it's the hope that kills you, isn't it? I thought we had it against City. I thought we had it. I thought we'd beaten them there, and that might have made a huge difference to the league campaign and so on. But that's my most crushing moment.
Well, now you've mentioned it in terms of a game moment. That you've just brought that memory flooding back.
Soz. Okay. Right, we did play the season. So, surprise of the season. I don't know. You can make of that what you will. Steph, surprise of the season.
Miles Lewis Skelly.
Yeah. Okay. Chris.
Yeah.
I've written him down as well, which is why I referenced Jazz's message in kind of putting forward Miles Lewis Skelly as a potential player of the season, because he's my young player of the season and he's my surprise player of the season. My surprise of the season, Miles Lewis Skelly. Nobody predicted that before the season started. Nobody anticipated the impact he was going to have, and I just love him. I think he's brilliant. Okay, Steph, I'm curious what you're going to say about this one because of your previous answer, but complaint of the season.
Well, you are going in a funny order, aren't you?
So the order I've written them down.
Do you want to know
it's not
my
funny
complaint
to me.
of the season? That tifo. What an absolute abomination. The badly hung shower curtain.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. Corporate. Soulless. Cheap, I assume, as well.
The complete antithesis to what Arteta wants. Like, I can't believe he was happy with that for a second.
Oh, it was just awful. And I think they were probably so keen to say no to the Ashburton army because they don't want to feel like they're being led by a fan group, that they just organised their own thing. And it was just pathetic. It was the thing I'm most angry about of all the things, but it really just, it lacks. And this is in a week. Literally, tonight, after we've finished recording, I'm going to be renewing my season ticket, and I've got issues with certain aspects of that because I know.
Has that email come through yet?
No, not officially, and I think that's, again, if I'm with my cynical hat on, I think it's part of their campaign to churn over a few season tickets, turn them into tourist seats, and charge top whack for them. but that's me with my cynical hat on. But that to me summed up a slight disconnect that's still there between, the club and the fans that needs to be bridged. And like you say, Arteta is very outspoken on wanting that more European style. I don't think we properly do it because we have our own culture in England that does things differently.
Well, but we can do it better than that.
But boy, can we do it better than that. I mean, I was just seeing pictures of the away end in Lisbon for the Women's Champions League final. There was a couple of big flags. Just hold them up. Like, they were loads better. And just... anything at all.
Okay,
Sorry.
Chris, complaint of the season.
For me, I just can't get past the officiating. So I've written Pogmol and I wrote, and if I was a Villa fan, ... So, which we've referenced because of the fact that it doesn't just affect us; it affects the whole integrity of the game. So,
Well, it kind of is useful for us because we feel like we've been, I don't know, penalised or victimised by some of these refereeing decisions. But that decision for Villa, they were the first. They were the first to acknowledge that they did not deserve to win the game. But that's irrelevant. That's not football.
Because that was at 0-0, wasn't it?
That was at 0-0, and they would have gone one with like 15 minutes to go or less even. And but that has not only has that cost them Champions League football and prevented us from signing Isak. But anyway, it's all about me.
Join the dots, people.
Villa are sailing very close to the PSR wind, and they are now going to have to. They're not banking. They haven't got the Champions League money to bank on, so they're going to have to sell a Morgan Rogers or an Ollie Watkins. Maybe he might be going anyway. I don't know. And they may well still get into trouble. So it could absolutely. They were on the crest of a wave, and they've just sunk because of that one decision. And it was. And so, like you, Chris, I know. I get everything you're saying about VAR, Steph, and I agree with it completely. But for my complaint of the season, it's the refereeing standards. It's nothing to do with VAR. It's the refereeing standards. Referees have been so poor, not biased, just so poor. That something really needs to be done about it. And it's not, I don't know, it's not because, I'm not saying that through my Arsenal-coloured spectacles. It's harming the entire league, the entire product, if you want to couch it in business terminology. So again, that's my complaint this season.
The bits of European football that I've seen, whether it's in the European competitions or in the other leagues, doesn't seem to be that low level. Look, there'll be decisions that they get wrong, I'm seeing, but they're howlers. They're so bad decisions.
Yes, to the point where there's no defence.
No.
Like there's no defence.
it's the way that the guys in the VAR booth rally round, double down on those bad decisions.
Well, like
makes it even worse. At least correct your error.
The propaganda around the whole thing, that stupid, Ref Watch program or whatever with Howard Webb and Michael Owen is just pathetic. That's like North Korean TV going, how wonderful you have it with these beautiful
It's another circling of the
referees.
wagons, isn't it?
How great leaders. I mean, I remember that, when we were away at Bournemouth and Saliba got that red card because he took down the last man basically only just in our half and whatever. I mean, the away end then, the day was spoiled because the rest of the time it was just chanting for Howard Webb's head, basically. And, the best referees are the ones you don't notice. And we're noticing it far too much.
Yeah, So refereeing standards complaint of the season. I would also like to complain about Sky TV and Gary Neville and Jamie Redknapp and how fucking pathetic they've been. Wow. And now they've got 80% of live games next season. It's like even more games.
What I don't mind, the football coverage in and of itself is okay. That's fine. The punditry around football on TV it's gone to the lowest common denominator.
Yes.
And it's really weird because I've probably watched, I know I've gone to a lot of games, but I've found myself not watching catch up and not watching those programs, I used to quite like Monday Night Football because you'd get a couple of games analysed, then they'd preview. It was a bit more in depth. I'm not interested because I don't know. It just feels like lowest common denominator stuff, and you can find much more insightful, much more analytical, much more rational stuff online now. That's the point. The democratization of it, which you would think that they'd up their game. Sky, TNT, whoever it is.
Yeah, they've chosen a different response to that, haven't they?
Response to it. They've gone the AFTV kind of response to it, and I don't enjoy that. It's not good.
No.
So, yeah.
No. Okay, complaints of the season. Right, I'm going to keep it with a negative. I'm jumping around. Yes, fine, shoot me. Most disappointing game of the season, Steph?
West Ham at home. Because we didn't look like winning that, and it wasn't very good. I have also put a sort of special mention for both Man United draws because they've been awful. Awful. We beat them at home, 2 set pieces, and it was, easy street. That was fine. But away at theirs and then in the cup were, so annoying to see that their season has been so crap. And we've got another season where we haven't really capitalised. That's a shame. But yeah, West Ham at home, that was naff. And that was for me where the league had gone then. That was it for me. Final nail, bang.
Chris?
Yeah. Same for me, and I've written any flicker of hope was extinguished, and I think I said,
poetic.
After, yeah,
I'm feeling sorry for you, Chris, but it impacted me as well.
It's the single tear trickling. But I think when we did the post-match podcast for this, I'd said that there was almost like a sense of relief. It was like grieving for your dog who was really sick, and then you'd finally put it down, and you're like, oh, well, okay, at least it's gone now and it's in peace. So that was my sense after that, was like, okay, it's done now. So stop.
No more suffering.
Stop looking at the table every 10 minutes and going, if only we could win here, and it's done.
Yeah, I've disappointed. I've referenced City away 2-2 for already expressed.
How about Brighton?
No, because I felt I was being a bit repetitive.
But it would have made it in there otherwise.
I have offered a notable mention for West Ham and Villa 2-2 home draw as well. Against Villa, I thought was disappointing.
Yeah, it was.
I think we're 2-0 up
Losing
in that game.
Losing a 2-0, yeah.
Okay. Chris.
3 reasons to be cheerful? No,
we're not there yet. No,
oh,
we're not.
God, no.
I know. Is it nearly your bedtime? I know. Sorry, we're going on too long. What point in the season would you go back to and
Saka's
change?
Injury, Saka getting injured, and making him not injured.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, again, it was just like endless.
Well, it was just it snowballed from there, basically.
Okay, Chris, Steph, what about you?
I had Saka's injury in my head as well because it was knowing we were talking about this, and I went back and watched a few highlights here and there. Yes, there were a few setbacks. Brighton again, Man City early in the season, but we were maintaining. And there was just this. Saka's such a big player and so good. He had such a good start to the season himself. 10
assists or something like that.
He was on track
like,
to smash the assist record. And so to lose that momentum, I know we coped okay in here and there, but yeah, that was a big.
I mean, he's our. You talked about it in a previous podcast, Steph. He's our only attacker.
Arguably,
in that sense,
he's our unicorn.
And we were deprived of him for 3 months
because we'd had that whole we've done debate about Odegaard being out after the international break, but it was always felt that at least with Saka, Havertz, and would sort of make things work because I don't know, we didn't seem to drop off as much as we might have done, but I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, it is incredible that we finished second. Considering,
yeah, it is.
Forget about why the injuries occurred and what we could have done differently, but the fact that they occurred, we were missing these players for large chunks of the season, not just squad players, first 11, first name on the sheet players. Okay, right, goal of the season, Steph.
Right, So I sent you that clip earlier, didn't I? The compilation of a load of goals from the season.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. All Arsenal's goals this season.
I'm
I didn't watch
so
it,
glad I went back and watched it because I always worry about recency bias. You know, what's the last good goal that I can remember? And what it made me realise was that there's been some bangers this season. It's been great. Starting on the opening day when Saka thunderbolted an effort past Jose Sarr, I think it was, in the Wolves goal. And it was just the power with which he hit it. He did that a couple of times. I think he did one against Southampton at home as
Liverpool.
well. Liverpool as well. Oh, well, the Liverpool goal, over-the-shoulder control, turn Robertson round and then slot it home. Look, my goal of the season is Rice's second free kick. It's on a postage stamp. It's also, because there's several things you look for in a goal, isn't there? There's aesthetics, there's the context, and the feeling it gives you. Well, a beautifully struck free kick against Real Madrid, your second of the game in the Champions League quarter-final. I mean, yeah, wow.
Do that in the final and it's a bit better, but yeah, you don't get much better than this. You don't get much better than a quarter final.
No, that was amazing. I do want to give a couple of shout outs to a couple of goals as well. Calafiori's goal against Man City at their place.
Yeah, I've referenced
oh
that.
My God, the way he swept that home was just unbelievable. Nwaneri's goal against Preston. I know it was against Preston, so it was never going to have that same sort of acclaim, but yeah, that was the first time I'd seen him properly, and he looked pretty special. Again, he hit a couple of, his goal against Man City was pretty good. I'm pretty sure he scored against someone else in the league as well. Another one of those curling efforts. It's the Nwaneri move. One I had forgotten about though was Gabriel Jesus's dink against Crystal Palace in the League Cup when we beat them, because he just he'd sort of not long come back from injury, and there was a bit of talk about him and his role in the team and whatever, and I don't know, he was playing number 9 for the first time I think in a while and dinks it over, and it was a lovely little finish. But yeah, I mean, Rice's free kick, Calafiori's goal, I mean, there's probably more I'm missing, but those ones stand out for me.
Chris?
Yeah, again, Rice's free kick, for what it meant, for all the reasons you've said, Steph. Calafiori's, because it was in open play, it's even more impressive. So
Kyle Walker whinging about the referee letting us play.
Okay. Jog on. Okay. So yeah, I can't improve on those two really.
Yeah, I Rice's second free kick. You could put Rice's first free kick down as well because of the kind of shock element of it, as well as the breakthrough as well. It was the crucial first goal, and Calafiori away at City, because we were 1-0 down at the time, and that had a big impact in the psychology of the game, and it was a fantastic goal. God, Steph.
Well, I just want to reference Trossard's goal against Tottenham at home as well. Yeah, Trossard. Trossard's. Yeah, he's chipped away with a few goals. He's been a useful squad player.
In 55 appearances, he's scored 10 goals and got 9 assists this season in all competitions.
It's not bad. For what essentially, I mean, if everyone's fit and all things being equal, he's not a starter, so fine. But yeah, I like that goal against Tottenham. The only thing that lets it down is that they had like a teenage goalkeeper in who had chocolate wrists, and probably should have saved it. Another moment, I forgot to mention this earlier, another moment was when Trossard turned Pedro Porro inside out and basically nearly did it.
Injured him.
Oh, yeah. That was beautiful.
Okay, are we on to reasons to be cheerful? There we go. We're gonna.
No, I had another one in there.
What's the other? What have I missed?
Most disappointing player.
I didn't write that down.
I don't have that.
Do you not?
Steph, you're so negative.
Yes, I do. I do. But that's pretty obvious. Can we move on?
Who's your most disappointing player?
Sterling. Yeah.
Don't cry that it happened. Smile that it's over.
End of an era.
End of an era.
Oh, look. Reasons to be cheerful, gentlemen. Come on. We've got to finish on a high. Steph, 3 reasons to be cheerful.
Next season, we're starting from a high base, from a high level. Young talent to offset new arrivals that have to come. And my third one, you'll like this, we're not Man United. they are going to be gutted. There's going to be nothing left of that club soon because
they're just signing Cunha today.
Why would he go? What a mess! I'm glad we
doesn't-
didn't go for him now. I'm glad we didn't go for him. He's shown his true colours there.
But he makes them better. I mean, that's not difficult, but he does make them better.
But I don't see how they can afford it.
Well, it doesn't matter. Rashford will be gone and Garnacho will be gone.
They
and
hope.
They're pure profit. Well, I think Garnacho's. I think Chelsea or Napoli are going to come in for him, and Rashford for 35 million. I think loads of clubs would be lining up for him.
Not Villa. They ain't got the money.
Well, no, not now. Thank you, PGMOL. Chris.
Reasons to be cheerful. Despite everything, all the challenges we've faced this season, we've done remarkably well. But is one thing. So next season, like you said, we're starting from a really good base with all the, hopefully the reinforcements we get. We've got a relatively youthful squad coming into their peak. They seem to be all on board. Hopefully they'll be committing, extensions to their contracts. We definitely got at least, I'd say, 3 top players coming in to bolster and raise that floor. We were saying about we want more rotation. Hopefully it means Mikel will lean into it more. He'll have more confidence in a lean but higher floor squad. So, and I made a little reference to where we were when he took over with the kind of sticking plaster signings we had, like Socrates. Do you remember, just to try and get us back into the Champions League, Guendouzi, all these kind of short term, just get us back in, you experienced heads. Willian, David Luiz. And it didn't work. And look at where we are now. So, no, the trajectory is absolutely up.
Are they your 3? I wasn't counting.
Yeah,
sorry.
well, I was like about 20 in there.
We will do a podcast next week where we'll go through the squads player by player and assess their kind of value. Do we keep them? Do we loan them? Do we sell them? Things like that. And maybe incorporate a bit of who do we
Could
want
I
to
just
name?
chip in before we close, because there was something you made a note of which I think is actually quite a nice point, which is what needs to change for next season. Is that something we could do now quickly?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've written that down. I just didn't include it this time. So what you go?
Because I'll just chip. I mean, again, there'll be crossover here, but obviously like I said, there'll be a better squad, so we'll have more rotation and we'll hopefully avoid these kind of stress injuries. But I've also put greater creativity and more unpredictability going forward, so that we're not.
And that comes from the transfers.
Well, it comes from a more kind of holistic thing of like we need to change. Yes, you bring on board more people, but you lean into other ways of playing, other ways in which we set up to make ourselves less predictable. We did it simply by switching Martinelli and Trossard in the last few games, and that bamboozles the defence for a while. Hang on a minute, he's the centre. Oh, where's he going?
It freshens us up a little bit,
yeah,
as well. It's like not staid and repetitive. And again, I don't know who I heard, maybe Clive Palmer saying it. If we have somebody on the left who is dangerous, or somebody through the middle who is dangerous, every time Saka receives the ball, he's not faced with 5 defenders to get past. We need players that force the opposition to pay attention to them. Whereas at the moment, we've only got Saka. Odegaard, if he's having a good season, so not this season, but last season, yes, okay, that's really important. But someone who comes in on the left, you could argue is as important as who we get as a number 9, because they're going to be dealing with Lewis Skelly and Declan Rice and whoever is on that left-hand side. And they need that relationship as much as White, traditionally, what I know Timber now, but White, Odegaard and Saka on the right-hand side have. And just more variety in attack, absolutely. And Arteta using that rotation.
Well, that's why I said hopefully he'll have the confidence too, because maybe he hasn't felt like he could chuck in his second stringers. And
yeah, but then Kiwior, he didn't trust Kiwior at any point during the season until he had to, and Kiwior's been brilliant. Yeah. So I don't know. Any other, what needs to change? Is that it? Big one. Chris?
No, that's good. That was
Okay.
it for me.
Steph, what about you then? What needs to change?
Again, it sort of plays into the idea of variety of sort of tactics and approaches to game. One thing I got frustrated with this season, was opportunities for a quick transition and a break against the opposition weren't taken all the time. And they don't have to be taken all the time, but I think you need to add that variety. In the same way that sometimes I think it's worth shooting from distance so that you put into the mind of a defender that you could pull the trigger, so that defender then presses you, creating space somewhere else for you to fill. Variety of play. So we need that. But the quick transition, and that will need a little bit of addition to the squad. Trossard's not rapid. I don't think Waneri's a high-intensity runner. So you are relying on Saka and Martinelli, really, and that's kind of it.
We need pace,
Yeah, they're definitely...
Saka doesn't have a blistering pace.
No, not particularly. No. And so I would like to see just attack on quick transition. I was reading something earlier. I don't fully understand it. I need to have a look into it. But they were comparing the Premier League to the other big 5 leagues. And in terms of goals coming from quick transitions, the Premier League is one of the highest. And I think that plays into the goals we then concede, because we play teams that sit in a low block and hit us on a high quick transition. So we need to maybe fight fire with fire a little bit as well, because then hopefully we'll be able to, get a lead, as we did a lot this season, but then get another. A lot of the rotation that and again, you were referencing before we came on, Holly, about some of our older pods from before we started sort of more officially. We are saying similar things. Man City was so good a few years ago when they would go 2-0 up and then just kill the game. And we're still not quite there. Still not quite there.
Wenger used to do the same.
Yeah, you get 2-0 up, then you can bring your best players off, you take minutes out of their legs, you can sustain them, you don't get those injuries that come from such high intense play all the time. Because if we have to keep going so many 90 minutes after 90 minutes of just trying to keep the game at 1-0 or chase the game at 1-1 or 2-1 down or wherever it might be, it just has a huge impact. So quick transition, attack, variety of play, hopefully kill a few games off here and there.
Okay, my what needs to change? Rotation, transfer, and be more proactive, and that's that in-game decision. And that's me back to Brighton again. I hadn't done my 3 reasons to be cheerful though, Chris. So we can finish on a positive.
Yes, go for it.
Young players, my first reason to be cheerful. We've already explored that. Summer transfer. There's no way we can't do big things this transfer window. I mean, it's just unthinkable. So I'm excited about that. I'm not getting impatient already because the transfer window hasn't opened yet. So it hasn't stopped Liverpool and United making signings. Liverpool, Kerkez, Frimpong and Wirtz. Right, so that's interesting. That's the gauntlet laid down by the champions, current champions. All 3 players make that team better. Okay, we're playing catch up as it is. And my third thing is you referenced it, Chris, is our resilience and mental strength this season. I mean, just the very fact, just take the last 3 games. To go out the way we went out to PSG after expending all that energy and the players missing and so on, they must have just thought the last thing I want to do now is go to Anfield and then face Newcastle. And I mean, Southampton game was much more relaxed because of what happened at Anfield and against Newcastle. But to get 7 points from those 3 games, I think is a real positive, a real source of encouragement going into next season. When you add in the quality up front that we're going to get, it will augment the squad with 2 more attackers, like first team number 9 and a wide left player. And Zubimendi coming in, maybe a left back when players go and so on. That fine, but that's really something to be excited about. Provided we do that, I mean that's the caveat, obviously. But I think absolutely right here, right now, 27th of May, our summer transfer business is something to be positive about, and definitely a reason to be cheerful and optimistic looking ahead to next season, in my opinion.
Here.
Hey. Phew.
We finished on a high. We did it.
Yeah. There you go, Tabs.
Yeah.
There you go. Right, listen, thank you for the chat, and thanks ever so much to everybody for sending in their views. And I echo what Steph said. I hope we haven't left anybody out in terms of the comments that were made. And thank you very much for those. And we do always read them and chat about them beforehand, even if one or two might have slipped through. We apologise for that. And listen out for, I say, a few days, a week's time. We'll be going putting out a podcast where we go through the squads in a lot more detail in terms of player by player, and we'll obviously have a little discussion about transfer business that maybe has already happened in the next 7 weeks. 7 days. Anyway, anything else to add? Finally, nothing, guys. You're good.
No, thank you for a good season. Enjoyed doing these.
Yay! Well done, us.
I don't get out much.
Listen, we are.
Hang on a minute. I'm the one who does get out.
You do get out there. Fair point. Yeah.
Madrid.
We are. Check us out on TikTok as well. We put a lot of clips out on TikTok and other videos from Steph's travels around the country and Europe, and they get a lot of traction and they're good fun as well. So do check us out on TikTok. And thank you very much. We'll see you in a few days' time for a squad assessment. Anyway, bye.
Cheers.
See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at NorthBankPod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company.